Desert heat shimmered in the air above forward operating base Talon. "Wrench, you're telling me you can do this with your bare hands?" Chief Warrant Officer Marcus Brennan's tone cut through the quiet, cutting, condescending. He wasn't staring at the silent AH64 Apache that had embarrassed his maintenance crew for 3 consecutive days. He was staring at the woman on her knees in front of it. Staff Sergeant Lyra Kaine didn't blink. Her hard-worn fingers, stained black with hydraulic oil, swept methodically over the underbelly of the helicopter. She wasn't paying attention to the snickers of Brennan or the muffled chuckles of the other younger techs around them. She was hearing something else, the sound of a $50 million machine that had fallen silent. No one had used her name for 18 months. On the base, she was just Wrench. But behind that was a name mentioned in secret briefings and spoken in awe on the Syrian desert floor. Shadow 7. The Apache hung like a tethered predator, its rotor blades immobile, its armor winking in the blistering Iraqi sun. It was just one of 6 birds crippled by a ghost failure no diagnostic system could detect. All tests revealed nothing, yet none of the aircraft could climb above 50% power before it shut down. Brennan had only been there 3 months, straight out of tech school, equipped with the latest software and complete faith in machines that measured other machines. He was a believer in numbers, in sensors, in precision. What he didn't believe in was instinct, the kind of knowledge that was born in oil, sweat, and intuition. Lyra had been at Talon longer. She'd been transferred from a posting she wasn't allowed to discuss, and she flew the night shifts when the world outside was still and the planes were hers alone. Day crews ignored her. "Night crew," they'd say, as if darkness diminished what she did. They had no idea that her plain uniform, simply her name, Kaine, and 3 chevrons, concealed a history filled with Black Ops secrets. They did not notice the wars behind her tranquil eyes. All they got was the leather tool roll she wore, old, worn, and holy. Within it, odd, narrow tools worn smooth by years of impossible fixes. When Brennan made the announcement that General Electric engineers would be brought in via satellite, Lyra remained silent. When he laughed scornfully, "Modern warfare requires modern diagnostics. Not grease monkey guesswork," she nodded merely. 6 grounded Apaches and 6 aborted missions by the time it was afternoon. Ground troops were left vulnerable. Brennan's immaculate data was now useless, his self-assurance shattered. Lyra, 36 hours awake, moved quietly among planes, her palm sweeping over chilled metal, listening, sensing, for a pulse too weak to be picked up by machines. Lastly, she returned to Hangar 7, dropped to one knee at the port engine, and spoke quietly. "Flashlight, Sergeant Kaine," Brennan snapped. "We already deployed military-grade fiber optics. A flashlight will do us no good." She took it anyway. The beam crawled slowly across the metal skin. Then she put her bare hand against the engine, closed her eyes, and froze. "What are you doing?" Brennan demanded. "Listening, sir. This is a turbine engine, not a heartbeat." The hangar went quiet. Even the doubters ceased whispering. There was an otherworldly quality to her immobility. "The machine is always speaking," she whispered. "You just have to be quiet enough to hear it." Abruptly, the hangar dissolved. She was in Syria, 2019. Smoke, flames, mayhem. A Black Hawk shredded by shrapnel. The pilot yelling for evac. Her crew pinned down. "Shadow 7, came the radio call. "If that bird's not flying in 10 minutes, we're dead. No spare parts." No time. Just her hands and her tools. She felt the fracture before she saw it, a vibration screaming through steel. She rerouted pressure lines, improvised a bypass with wire and tubing, and brought the Black Hawk back to life. 12 soldiers lived because she listened. That was the night Shadow 7 became a legend. In Iraq, Lyra awoke. She knew? "The bleed air valve?" she said softly. "Pneumatic line. Hairline fracture. Opens only at 50% spool." Brennan blinked. "Impossible. We scoped it twice. Your optics reveal snapshots in time," she said. "They can't perceive what occurs in motion. You're searching for what is. I'm hearing for what becomes." Her voice held no arrogance, but only certitude. Brennan's face turned red. "Sergeant Miller, call base command." "She's breaking protocol," But Miller didn't move, then grabbed his phone, not the radio. "Sir, CWO Brennan is going to have Sergeant Kaine arrested." She isolated the issue. Seconds later, the roar of engines echoed through the air. 3 black Tahoes pulled into the hangar, government plates shining. Out came officers, ribbons shining, eyes piercing. And then General Patricia Stone, 3 stars, legend, warrior. She marched past Brennan without even a look and came to stand before Lyra. "Shadow 7, she said, striking the crispest salute anyone had ever seen. "It's an honor." Brennan's tablet fell from his fingers, shattering on the floor. "This," the general stated, addressing the wide-eyed bystanders, "is Staff Sergeant Lyra Kaine, call sign Shadow 7, 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. She maintained 6 Blackhawks aloft for 14 days in the midst of sandstorm. When her aircraft was badly damaged, she had it repaired in the middle of the siege and flew out 18 troops herself." She stopped. Her eyes met Brennan's. "You had every diagnostic, every tool, every algorithm, and discovered nothing." She diagnosed the defect in 10 minutes. "Your program reads data." Her fingers read truth. "In battle, that distinction means lives." Lyra lowered her head. "It isn't his fault, ma'am. The data is clamorous. The machines are more so. He was instructed to believe in figures. But machines speak their secrets by touch. Your sensors cannot detect what only fingers sense." She raised her tool, its metal glinting. "This fracture only opens to stress. In repose, it conceals. But hands don't quantify. They converse." 3 weeks later, Fort Rucker, Alabama, Staff Sergeant Lyra Kaine stood in front of a fresh class of aviation mechanics. The banner declared, "Advanced Intuitive Diagnostics, the Shadow Protocol." "Your computers will say what's broken," she said, her tone firm. "I'll show you how to hear what's breaking. Because that distinction, the one between knowing and sensing, saves lives." Chief Brennan sat in the front row, notebook open, arrogance overcome by respect. On the wall behind her was a photo of Lyra standing next to a Black Hawk. Underneath it was her leather tool roll and patch, Shadow 7, 160th SOAR. A brass plaque said, she heard what machines whispered, "Shadow 7 saves." Lyra smiled gently. "Now let's discuss the difference between seeing a problem and feeling it." And in that quiet classroom, far from war, noise, and heat, the legend of Shadow 7 started again.